Hey, Nuttles family, this is Chad here. I am super excited today, as if you could not tell from my other videos we put on Facebook. So today we're here with Carla from the Grace Company and Janessa from the Grace Company. So say hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome, everybody.
So for the most part, what we're going to be doing today is Carla is going to be educating us on free motion quilting. Isn't that right, Carla?
Absolutely. Something I love.
Good deal. Good deal. So just a couple of things, because we're doing this a little bit different. So hopefully you'll be a little patient with us, because we haven't done this before. We're actually going to be showing you some videos that Carla has already pre-done. And so what we'll do today is so the plan is we're going to watch a video and have and then have a Q&A at the end of that video. So what I want you to do, type in the comments if you're on Facebook or on YouTube, ask your questions there, and then Janessa will be feeding those questions at the Q&A to Carla and I. So super excited to have both of them here to do that. So make sure you type those in the comments. If it's something that we can't address right now, or if it needs a little bit more research, we'll definitely get to those questions. I'll write those down and I'll get back to you on those with that. And so the other thing that we're doing some giveaways, and I didn't tell people what those giveaways were going to be. You do need to be here for the whole thing and be here at the end of this Facebook Live to see, because we're going to do those at the end. And so I'm still not going to tell you. How about that? If you're mad, send me mad emails, I guess. I don't know. But I'm excited to have this, and I will turn the time over to Carla.
Hi. Well, thank you for having me. I so appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today about free motion quilting, which is something I love. And I made this video about free motion fundamentals. And a lot of quilters just don't know where to start. And Janessa's brand new. She's joined me with the education department with Grace, and she's just jumping into it and learning so much. And oh, God, each of my educators have a different take and a different ideal, and they bring something to the table. And that's what I want to bring to you today, is my love, my passion. And I hope that you can recognize and see how excited I get with quilting and just learn something. And even if you've maybe seen this before, maybe you can learn something new. So let's just take it from there and go jump in and start watching the free motion fundamentals, part 1. Today I get to talk to you about free motion quilting, and I've done a lot of research and I've been able to learn free motion quilting really on my own. Yes, there's some great quilters out there, and they have a lot of good advice, but a lot of new beginners don't know where to start or why it's important to do certain steps as you're free motion quilting. And they just bypass it because it becomes a little difficult, and they think that they're not artistic enough to do their own thing with the free motion quilting and drawing out designs. And so I just want to help you become more confident so that you are taking tips and techniques that I'm teaching to be able to go and give you the confidence and do your free motion quilting. So, doing my research, I had to think back of where I started, and I started quite a while ago. And so I have gotten better with my free motion quilting, and a lot of it comes from experience and the way that you're able to sew across your quilt. Now, think back of when you first started sewing, or first started writing, or first started walking. You take baby steps, okay? And that's what we're going to talk about today, is the baby steps leading up to it. Now, when you start quilting, a lot of quilters think they want to be this fabulous quilter, right out of the bat, and you're not, okay? Because the machine's a little smooth and it's easy to make little wobbles in your designs. And even today, all the professional quilters are not perfect quilters. So allow yourself the learning curve. Just say, you know what? I've got to learn this, and know that it can be learned. I mean, we all have to start somewhere in the quilting process. And so the first place I want you to start is practicing. And I want you to think about getting a doodle notebook. This notebook will help you come as a resource. It helps you practice drawing your designs, and that practicing as you're doodling is so important because it helps your memory retention as you come to the quilting frame. It allows you to remember which directions you need to move or how you want to draw the design. This doodling part of quilting is extremely important, and something that if you're not doing, it's so much fun. You know, if you're sitting in front of the TV or you're just sitting there talking on the phone, put your phone on speaker and start doodling and just practice your designs while you're talking, because then you're doing two things at once, and that even helps you even more because it helps you remember the direction that you're supposed to draw, but you're doing another exercise talking at the same time, so you're trying to focus on two different items, so it helps you to multitask. So those are great tips and tools. So if you have any free time, just sit down and doodle. No matter where you are, even if you're in the car just riding along, listening to the radio. If you're the passenger, don't do it while you're driving, okay? But if you're the passenger, just doodle away. And a lot of our phones have pens that we can doodle as well. So start a doodle notebook. And start with easy designs. When we first started our penmanship and writing, we started out with easy, simple little things. And with a lined notebook, it helps you work on your proportions as well. So I have my little doodle notebook that has the lined papers in it. And as I started doodling, some of the first easy designs are just little waves and loops. And just start using the alphabet, the cursive alphabet, not regular letters, but the cursive alphabet is a great resource for designs in quilting. So this is a small case L and a little E. And I've just did 2 lines to show how I did the L, but I did the single distance between the 2 lines as the E, and I just, mastered that. So, and then another one is like a U. So it's a curve and an up, down, up, down, up, down. And like I said, the proportions on the lines really help you make it nice and even all the way across. So just to show you, and then as you're quilting, you can just do L's all the way across. Then you can add L and then an E, and then you can do the U's. You can make them a little smaller, but then you can start adding elements to it. So you can do a U with a circle underneath, and then you curve over the top, do a circle again, and then you move around and you do your circle again. Then you'll add a circle at the bottom of your U, and then at the top of the U coming across the top, so that valley and hills. Let's call them valley and hills. So you'll add a circle on the valley, and then another circle on the hill. And so you'll just move across. And then, as you're working on your designs, what you'll do now is that we're just making the distance a little longer using my lines. So at the bottom of your U, and then at the top of the U coming across the top, so that valley and hills. Let's call them valley and hills. So you'll add a circle on the valley, and then another circle on the hill. And so you'll just move across. And then, as you're working on your designs, what you'll do now is that we're just making the distance a little longer using my lines. So instead of just 1, I'm using 4 so I'm doing my little circle on the hill. And this will help you work with your meandering and learn how to stipple. So if you'll practice, and then practice changing the direction of how you quilt, that also helps your memory. And also change the top, so that valley and hills. Let's call them valley and hills. So you'll add a circle on the valley and then another circle on the hill. And so you'll just move across. And then as you're working on your designs, what you'll do now is that we're just making the distance a little longer using my lines. So instead of just 1, I'm using 4 so I'm doing my little circle on the hill. And this will help you work with your meandering and learn how to stipple. So if you'll practice, and then practice changing the direction of how you quilt, that also helps your memory. And also change the position of the design on your quilt. So this is just upside down E's, and then I started doing upside down L's as well. So you can see that this would make a fun little element in a border or a sashing, doing the different directions. Now this is a capital L. It's just a nice loop coming back, and again, these lines help me keep my proportion of my design so that I have it proportionally correct. Now, it doesn't help with the distance, so if you're concerned about the distance in between, you could just measure going across like this and add little lines so that you can keep the distance correct and the circles correct. So there's lots of ways that you can practice your doodling. Now this is a fun design as well. So this is just kind of a zigzag. It's so simple, but you wouldn't realize it. This is my start point right here, and I moved up at a diagonal to this line here, okay, on my sheet of paper. So I went diagonal, then I went towards. If I was in front of it, it would have been the left, okay? So it's the right on me. So move to the left as you're sitting in front of it. And then you'll come back down to the diagonal and you'll move to the left again. And then you'll go back up and you'll just keep doing that all the way across. So you have this little fun design. That's a fun one to practice. And so challenge you to practice something new and a little different. Then, as you're doodling, another fun thing in your doodle notebook to also help you learn how to fill in different shapes. So I'm just using simple squares for my shape, but you could use a hexagon or a triangle and try different things. So just draw them in your notebook and practice with little filler designs. So this isn't even complicated at all. It's just a design that I did in the valley and the hills. It's a little longer, but I just went across, making them vertical, and then I came across and made them horizontal. So it just changes direction. And on a quilt, it's very pleasing to the eye to have the different directions because it draws your eyes different areas. So practice on that. Then notice that now I started in the corner with my valley and hills, and I went this direction. So now I'd probably leave these two blanks. So try different ways of quilting. You don't have to fill in every area, and sometimes that can become a little messy. And sometimes you need that little space that has nothing in it whatsoever, and that makes it more pleasing as you're looking at it. So sometimes when a quilt has too much on it, it's hard to notice and recognize all that beautiful quilting, and sometimes less is more. So just decide how you like to quilt and what you like. Doesn't matter what anybody else likes. If you like it, that's great. Okay, now the stippling. A lot of quilters think, wow, let me start with the stipple. Stippling is actually a little harder than you would think. So practice in your notebook and practice in little squares so you can get the puzzle movements down. And stippling is just curves like a puzzle piece and going in different directions to kind of make it look a little meandering across your page. So start in one corner, Don't lift your pencil, keep going. And you'll notice that where you get hung up in a corner, just make it a little smaller and then come out. All the puzzle pieces are not exactly the same little size. They have small ones and large ones. So it doesn't matter if you get caught in a little corner. Notice that I kind of did a little erasing. That some of them are a little smaller because I was getting closer to my corner right here. So I kind of got caught there, so I had to just make this a little smaller. So practice that. And you can even practice it with points or spirals. Now, this is a fun little spiral design. It teaches you the basic beginnings of a spiral because spirals are not that easy to start with. So what you'll do is you'll come in and bring it to a point and then come back out. And I just kind of made a little popcorn flower. And then you'll just come out and make it to a point. Just practice, practice, practice. And practice this all over your page. You know what? The more you do it, the better you'll become. So another simple design, I just wanted to show you about the spirals since we did the little popcorn, is this is a closed loop spiral. You can notice that as I come into it, I've got it really close to the same loop and I echoed around it. This is an open spiral because they're not touching. This is a closed and this is open because this one here, I closed it because each of the spirals are touching the next one. And this is open because they're not even touching each other. So it's going to cover more area more quickly as you're quilting. This is going to take a little bit more time because it's a little denser and closer together. So just look at the proportions and what you like and how you want to quilt. Okay, and a couple other little tools that I think are valuable for you. As I was working on processes and ideas, start again. I want to remind you, if you're not confident with free motion quilting, start simple. You can make a beautiful quilt with simple, easy designs. This quilt right here, I wanted to show you, doesn't have any complicated designs. It's a fun quilt. It has the houses and the stars. But I just wanted to show you the simple, easy designs that I used on it. So right here in the tree, I used the spiral. And notice that it's open spirals, but it kind of gives you that movement. So as we were looking in it, it looks more like tree. And also we added names in this because it made it fun. It's like when kids were smaller, I put their names in things so that they would look for it, and it keeps them engaged and excited about what we're quilting. So I added Charlie's name here, okay? Now, right here, for the background, I did some stippling. And then for my flag, notice that I did the waves back and forth. And how much fun that is. Simple design. And then I did my stars. We all know how to draw stars. You just add stars and little loops to keep them going. And that's really it. Those are really, and then on the house here, we just kind of did some U's. But nothing complicated, but look how much fun the quilt is. And just from those simple, easy designs, boy, you can create beautiful quilts. And that's how we started out. Was just something simple. This is a really old quilt that I did a long time ago. Now, the quilt on the back wall is a little more complicated because I had more experience as I was quilting. Notice that in the sashing, I just did the loops. Simple, easy, but it's eye-catching. And in the center, I did the little X with some, it's a little feather X, if you want to call it. It's not really a wreath. But the back of the quilt is just as fun as the front of the quilt. So, and then I kind of took the feather design with the little circle that I used in the sashing and the square and added it to the border to keep it going. And the border was so easy to do. It's just a little paisley, a couple of them, and then a spiral. Nothing complicated, but I took some time and practiced before I started quilting. And I also positioned things off. My border, I sectioned it off to get my proportions correct. And your doodle notebook, as you're doodling and coming up with new ideas and new designs, is a great resource for you to look back on for your quilting. So the next thing I want you to do is get a piece of clear template plastic, okay? And you have a rougher side and a smoother side and a dry erase. And then this allows you to draw your designs on it, to see what designs you like. So for this area, I'm just going to bring it over here, right here. I'm going to position this along my block here that I want to fill in. What I'm going to do is kind of section it off here. All right, that looks pretty good. So now I could start here in the corner, go like this. That kind of looks fun, a little different, and then you could just keep going. And then just keep going this way. So that's kind of fun and a little different. So you could do something like that. And then we could come down here to this bigger square, the smaller square right here, and then see what the loops look like. And you know what? Sometimes those mistakes are happy mistakes. See, I'm talking, doing what I'm telling you, and not. So just take this template plastic. It's a fun way to see what your design will look like and if it's what you want on your quilt. Then once you've done that, then I would suggest drawing it on a piece of paper. Okay? Like this. And then unthreading your needle. So I'm just going to position it off like this. And then I'll just draw my design. So my needle is not going to be threaded. And this just helps your muscle memory from your tracing. So without being threaded at all, you're going to kind of see if you have a feel for it. All right, so I'm going to start up here in this corner. And you're not sewing the paper to it or anything. You're just seeing what it looks like. And you could pin your paper to it, but just make sure that you have the movements down. It kind of looks cool on the paper too. There you go. That's kind of fun. So try that and pin it down and practice your tracing on the paper. And then if you wanted to, you could use pounce to pounce it on your quilt, or you even have the lines on the quilt right now. You can see where I've sewn. And so now I have a way of going back over. So there's a couple different ways that you can use this, but you know, try these techniques and use them and practice your free motion quilting before you jump in and actually start quilting. And it will help you become more confident in your abilities, and it'll allow you to remember how your designs work and which position you need to move your sewing machine to get to the next design. Really important. So let's thread our machine, and I'm just going to come down here and do my little loops right now. And you can see that I've just drawn on my fabric the design. And using the pencil or the chalk or whatever method you like to use. Now, I have there are some really good markers out there that are water soluble that you can draw on your quilt. but I haven't found the best one yet. Once I do, I will let you know. But for right now, just use the chalk because I do know that it comes out. And don't use too dark of a chalk, just very lightly. Use a pencil as well. Very fine lines are really nice as well. So, and now I'm just going to start showing you that the simple little designs are the best way to start. I'm going all the way to the top. And just start moving across. And have fun while you're doing it. You know, learning can be a fun process. Because you could be excited about what you're learning and that it's new and different. I don't want you to be the type of quilter that feels like you have to stitch in the ditch all the time because that's what you're good at. I want you to try new things and new elements and add new ways of quilting. Try new things. Be different. Okay, one other thing I wanted to show you. It's kind of pleasing to the eye if you're changing from a large to a small, to start with a large and end with a large. And it just makes it more pleasing to the eye because then you think, oh, they ran out of room or something like that. So just make sure that you start with a large and end with a large, or if you're starting with a small, end with a small. It works a little nicer and it's more pleasing to the eye. Just a couple more things as you're quilting. Just a few thoughts that I want to bring to your attention is as you're quilting, even free motion quilting, getting your quilt on nice and straight really does help it turn out more even and beautiful. If you put your quilt on uneven, it's going to look a little uneven and a little sloppy. So as you're putting your quilt, use your cloth leaders or make sure that your edges are nice and straight. It just makes a lot of difference as you're quilting. And it keeps it from moving up your quilt at an angle or down. So make sure that you have a straight line going across your quilt and that your edges of your top and your bottom are nice and straight. Now, as you roll it, you're going to get some shifting, so that's why you're going to make your backing wider and longer. So make sure that you have enough. Now, on the sides, you don't need quite as much, but from the top to the bottom, you're going to need a little bit more. So make sure that it's wider from side to side and longer top to bottom than your top. And if it's a piece top, make sure that you're positioning your top where you want that strip or wherever you want that block to be. So if you want to spray baste as you're positioning it, you can. I do not like to baste. It's something that I just don't want to do. So I'm very aware because my backings are always pieced where I want that center, if I want it centered or if I want it off to the side. So just make sure that you're aware of where you want your top to be in regards to the back piece of your block, of your backing. Then the other thing is as you're quilting, just recognize that there are different size throats of machine. I'm using a 19-inch machine, so I have quite a distance I can travel, and I could make a larger design, one big, huge design. So the throat size of your machine is extremely important. If you have a smaller throat, then the size of your design is going to have to be smaller and in proportion that you can quilt it without hitting the back of the machine. So as you're quilting along, if you have a smaller throat, then you're going to hit the back of the machine and it can mess up your design So make sure that you know how far you can quilt without hitting the back of your machine. So I like to, with my chalk, just mark. So I'm not going to mark it down here past the foot. You're going to want to mark it up here before it hits. So I know that that's how far I can travel without hitting the back of my machine. And then if I hit the back of my machine, it's going to mess up my design and cause me to have a straight line because I'm hitting the back of it. So make sure that you do your markings as you're quilting along. And that you're tacking down the edges of your quilt. That's really important as well. If you happen to sew off the edge of your quilt as you're coming back onto it, I'm just going to show you right down here. It can fold over the edge of it, but also it can get caught between the needle and the foot, and you can sew your quilt block down in your foot, and then you're just going to have to cut it out, or be really careful as you're unpicking it right there. So notice that this is extremely important, and a lot of one that I learned the hard way. So learn from me, okay? I do not like to unpick, but yet I made a big mess by not tacking down the edges of my quilt. And so ever since then, I've been very religious about tacking down the edges, even with free motion quilting. And even if you're quilting inside this area, it's a good rule of thumb to always tack down your quilt edges, because you never know if you're accidentally going to sew off the edge. So those are just a few rules and techniques, and I look forward to you joining me for part 2 of this, where I'm going to show you some accessories for free motion fundamentals that you can use to help ease you into that process.
All right, how fun was that? That was pretty awesome. So, Janessa, do you have some cute questions and answers? And I want to go over a few things after those, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the comments that were said were actually questions. They were just compliments to you, Carla, just about how great you are inspiring us to try new things. That's one of my favorite things about working with Carla, because a lot of time I'll go in, I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. And she's great at just try, just do your best. And that's a great thing to take into all of our quilting. So thanks, Carla. The first question comes from Katie. She said, do you load your quilt based on which direction you want to make your designs?
Yes, if I'm free motion quilting, I do position the quilt. So I will quilt, if I have a sashing or a border that I want to quilt, that direction, I want it one continuous line, I will turn my quilt and position it that way. It's much easier for me to fill in that area than to try and draw something that's not comfortable with drawing that way, or upside down, or if you're just not comfortable, turn your quilt. It's not that hard. Just make sure that it's wider and longer so that you can turn it, and your quilting will turn out so much better. And then starting and stopping all the way down, trying to figure out how am I going to quilt this with it's going this way when I just don't know how to quilt down my quilt, and I want to quilt across because that's how we write. So if it's easier for you, I say turn your quilt. Now, if you want to practice it before you turn it and try it moving down the quilt, hey, go for it. But practice it first. That's my biggest thing, is do it on paper before you go to your quilt, or you're not going to be happy with it. And that will help you. I saw a lot of questions about scale. How do I scale it? How do I make my designs even? It's practice. It's practice, practice, practice. And that's where your doodling comes in. I doodle all the time. Every meeting I go to, I am doodling. Doodling has so many great aspects to it. You think kids are not listening, but actually with doodling, they are paying attention more. I don't know what it is about it. It's just that creative outlet that you can use as a quilter and just practice everywhere. My husband used to doodle in church. and I told him he couldn't do that because he wasn't setting a good example for our kids. And ever since then he stopped. And he's so artistic too. And it's like I stifled his artistic ability, and I feel so bad because I know the benefits and I understand the benefits now of doodling and sitting there. And it wasn't really that it was a bad thing. It was just that I thought it wasn't a good thing until now, and I doodle in church all the time. So go for it. If it's boring, yeah, you'll take so much more from it. Just let everybody know, man, I really understood that talk in church or whatever. But enjoy it. But really do. It is practice, and with practice, you will become better all the time. I am not the quilter that I was years and years ago. And it's because I have, number one, tried new ways of quilting. Don't limit yourself. I can't tell you that enough. Too many quilters that just quilt in the same mode of quilting. They don't try the automation. They don't try a ruler. They don't try different ways. They're stuck. And their creative juices aren't going anymore. And we want our creative juices to just bloom and blossom. And with trying new things and trying new methods, man, you won't believe how creative and exciting it is.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Carla. We're getting some questions about marking quilts. So Debbie asked, do you always mark your quilt before quilting?
I usually start out marking my quilt, but by the end, I don't. The first few blocks and everything, it's just to make me feel better about my movements and that I have them down. I will usually mark the first squares, but by the end of my quilt, I'm not marking because I have those muscle memories. I have that design down and I've learned something new. So I would say start out with marking them, but don't make them too dark because you want it to come out, and just use something that you love, but you can see as well. So yeah, I do every quilt now. If I'm free motion quilting, I will mark.
Awesome. All right. And then the next questions, we're talking a little bit about basting, attacking around the quilt. So can you tell us a little bit about kind of tacking the edge? Do you do that by hand or with the machine, and your process for that?
I always use the machine to tack it down, and we use the long arm machines to baste as well. So some ladies like to, I'm not here to limit you on what you like to do. So if you like to baste, please baste by all means. I mean, if that helps you feel better about your quilting and about how the quilt is going to be straight, I don't even care what frame it's on, just baste, okay? If that's what makes you have the confidence to move forward in your quilting, baste, okay? I just don't like to, but like I said in the video, I do tack down the edges and I use my machine. And I will use my machine and I won't really baste down the edges. I will lower the stitches per inch if I have a long arm, or I will slow it down and make the stitches a little longer on the edge, just because I feel like they don't need to be teeny tiny sometimes. But if it's just a practice quilt, I just tack them down using the same mode of quilting that I am quilting with. So it's up to you. You can practice, find your own style and what you like.
Awesome. Thanks, Carla. We have a few more questions about marking pens. I know you talked about not having one that you specifically love, but what do you like to use? And how do you keep stencil chalk from bouncing off so you no longer have the design to follow?
Oh, if you have the quilt on for a while, that can be a problem. Yeah, I totally been there, done that, and I've had to remark. And so sometimes I'll just use a light hand on a number 2 pencil. And then if I'm going over it, your quilting will hide that. So I don't lose the design. Other times I will use chalk on that quilt that I showed you towards the end that had the little feathers and the paisleys and the little X on it. I used an orange chalk on the white fabric, and I wouldn't do that again. It was just for me to be able to see, and the orange chalk just wasn't coming out. So I would say draw on a piece of fabric that's similar to what you have and see what you like and see how well you can see it. Now, I have lots of marking tools. And again, don't limit yourself. Try something different. If you don't like one particular style or type, try something new. Nuddles, I know, is a great resource to be able to go in and ask them questions about the different marking tools. I know they have tons, and they've used them themselves, and so it will be a wonderful way to, Chad, your people can help answer that question as well, because
Yep, for sure.
for different quilts, I use different marking tools. Some quilts I'll use when I did ruler work, I used a water soluble pen. I wasn't really hip on that, and that's where I learned. But I tried it, and now I know that that's really not my thing, and I moved on. I can move on to something else and try maybe the iron-on or the heat. I haven't tried that yet, so I'd like to try that. So there are lots of them out there. You can read online what people say, what they like and what they don't like, but unless you try it, you're never going to know.
Awesome. Thanks, Carla. The next question, I think, kind of might be more for Chad. So this is from Brenda. So she doesn't have a long arm yet and has been using her own regular machine. Where can I practice or play with one to see what machine would be the best to invest in?
Awesome. So Brenda, we have these long arm machines, Unique machines in every store. I don't know what store you're closest to, but we do have them in every store. You can come check them out. And I'm not real sure where to talk about this, but I will tell you for today and tomorrow, I did a little video saying that we're going to be doing some show pricing for this event, which is pretty awesome. There's different machines, different frames you can get into, and I don't want to go through all of those, but I can just tell you, to give you an idea on one package, on the base package, you're normally $4,500 for a machine and a frame. Show price, you're looking $3,225 is all.
Wow.
So it's pretty amazing pricing right now. And so we'll talk a little bit more about it after the second video that we play. And so while I'm talking anyways, before we jump into the second video, we are also doing 25% off machine accessories for today and tomorrow. You can come to the store or you can jump on our website and get those same pricings. So just throwing that out there while I'm talking.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that information. So I think we'll just do these last two questions and then maybe go ahead and get started on the next video. Does that sound all right with you guys?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So the next question is from Laurel. She said, my backing is crooked towards the end. What am I doing wrong when loading my quilt?
It could be your frame and how it, each quilt will kind of shift in how you're clamping it down. Okay. And they will roll a little uneven. So that's why I said it's really important for you to make your backing wider and longer. So just make sure that you're making it, wider and longer as you're quilting to give you that extra, because no matter what, it's going to roll a little uneven. And you're going to have to work with that. But there are some little tricks that you can do to help make it a little straighter as you're rolling and you see that. So you'll just look at it and notice that maybe your blocks aren't straight across. So the side that is up higher, okay, you're going to take and kind of twist it on the take-up rail. And the take-up rail is the rail that holds all the layers of your quilt. And on that side that's up a little higher than the other side, you're just going to kind of push it and kind of tweak it back and forth. So watch my hands on the pole to push it down so it makes it a little more even. So that will help you keep it more straight as you're quilting. But just know that you're going to have to make some adjustments as you're quilting and just kind of work with it and tweak it all the way down. But probably part of it is that you're not making your backing quite long enough, and you really need to, because the backing is what absorbs all that quilting. So you start to lose some of the backing. And when we first started making quilting frames, that was one of the first lessons that we learned, was that how quilts roll. With the 3-pole system and the rolling frames, that they roll uneven, and that you do need to make your backing wider and longer. So yeah, just make sure you make those little adjustments, and maybe for you it might be best if you pin all 3 layers if you have a rolling frame to the leaders. I don't know which style of frame you have, to all 3 of the leaders, and I'll help and adjust those. Leader claws really do help you roll your quilt straighter. So if you're floating your backing, don't ever float the backing, the batting, and the top. That's a no-no. Always pin your backing to a leader, because that does help with it losing, and making it more straight. So make sure that you're using your leaders and utilizing them, because they are really important. And now's the time to buy if you don't have them, because Chad's given some 25% off. Is that what you said? Because those extra accessories are really nice. I have to say one more thing about leaders that I've learned. We as quilters like to move from one project to another project to another project, because we tend to get a little bored. And yes, we finish our projects, I know. However, sometimes there's that one project that jumps up on us, and we have to get a quilt done for a wedding or a shower or something like that, or for a friend. And we need to take one quilt off. If you have an extra set of leaders, it will make that process that much easier. So I'm pushing that you purchase an extra set of leaders, because I have found that they become very valuable from transporting my quilt from home to here and then back again, because I'm always quilting. But it really has made a huge difference. So if you're looking for an accessory that you think you should purchase, that would be one of them, because if you're making and quilting a lot, it's a good purchase. So that being said, I'll shut up now.
No, it's great advice.
Just real quick too, Denise, that works at Nuttles. In fact, I didn't introduce her. She's behind my computer typing all this stuff out to everybody. So I really appreciate her taking the time. But she actually has a video that she put together on how to load your quilt on YouTube, and so we'll put that up there so everybody can know how to get to that.
Awesome. And then we have 2 more questions, and we will get to those after the second video, if that's okay with you guys. And yeah, stick around, and we will answer those questions and the rest that come up as we're watching this second video.
Now I'm going to talk about accessories that kind of can help you on your little journey into free motion quilting, and maybe some of them will assist you. But there's so many items and things out there, and I wanted to set the stage for both the mid to long arm machines. So I'm working with our Unique 21 Pro here, and also the domestic machines. So, these accessories will work with both. It's just, there might be differences in your frames and how you shift and move. So I wanted to kind of go through those items. And I want to first talk about the differences in the frame. So we have our rolling frame, which I have our 12-foot continuum right here with our Unique 21 Pro on. And then we also have our hoop frame over here. If we want to scale over here to this side, right here. Thanks, Chris. With a domestic machine on, because I wanted to give you a clear look of both of them. So I'm going to start here with the domestic machine. So when you're using, and you can use lasers, and lasers are a great item to follow pantographs if you want to use them. And it's a way for quilters to quilt with some direction and some help, some assistance. By following the laser light across your pantograph, it sometimes makes it really easy for quilters to quilt, because they have that pantograph and that line drawing. So that is a good way to quilt. and to start out with pantographs and just do the same design. And a pantograph is a design that's the same design repeated across your quilt and down your quilt. And so most of the times you will quilt off the edges of your quilt. So as you're shifting your quilt along, you'll just do the same pantograph. What's great about our frames is that you can work using the pantograph from the front of the frame or the back of the frame. And if you have a hoop frame that doesn't have table inserts and you want to work from the back, you will need table inserts if you want to follow the pantograph from behind. Now, you don't need an extra, if you're using a domestic machine or your home sewing machine and it's sitting on this top plate, you don't need to purchase an extra set of handles to work from the rear. Notice how these handles are shaped. So they go, these are the front handles that you can adjust the way you want. But what's nice is that these handles work and they go down and you can work from the back. So it's bent and it has the nice little cushion shifts on them so that you can work from the front or the back. So that is really nice that you don't have to purchase an extra set of handles. These table inserts have some little slits in them, and you'll notice that on the rolling frames that they also have these little slits. These are for another accessory that I'm going to talk later on about, our Pattern Perfect, so that you can adjust the position of the Pattern Perfect. So today I'm just going to talk to you about the fundamentals of these accessories, but I have already done a couple of videos, one on the Pattern Perfect and one with the laser, okay? So if you want to see how to actually use those and some really good points and tips on jumping in and using the laser and the Pattern Perfect, go and watch those videos because I do it step by step. And I tell you a little bit more about the positioning and the placement of it. And I teach you more of the fundamentals of the placement because we don't have a lot of time today and there's so much for me to inform you about. I'm going to move over to the rolling frame and do the bulk of my fundamentals from the rolling frame. But I just wanted to teach you that you can do the same things. You don't have to have a large frame or a long arm machine to use a laser or to use the Pattern Perfect or to use all these. You can quilt like a long arm quilter using your little domestic machine on a hoop frame. So jump in and try it. And now I'm just going to move over here. All right. Okay, so now I'm back over here to my rolling frame and my 21 Pro. Okay. So I want to talk to you a little bit about these accessories. Where did my laser go? Oh, well, I can't find it. So anyway, the lasers are different from the rolling frame, from the domestic machine to the Unique machines. The laser that you would purchase with your hoop frame, it's a laser that runs on batteries and it works really well, and you can mount it on the front or the back of your machine or frame. All right, this laser is the Laser Stylus Kit. So what comes with the kit? It's a bracket that you can mount your laser from the back or the front, and it plugs into the front of your machine right here, up underneath the port on this machine. And there's ports on the 19 or on the 15 that's usually on the front or the top. So if you're interested in finding where your ports are, read your instructions, it'll let you know. All right, so I'm going to use it from the front, but I'm going to show you how easy it is to move to the back as well. But what's nice about our frames, on all of our frames right now, this pole right here, this is the pole that holds your backing. It will extend out this direction, so it gives you a wider quilting area, which is great because that allows you to work from the front rather than the back, so you can see as you're quilting along. When you're working from the back, you will need what we call rear handles. So on the longer arm machines, you'd need a set of rear handles, and you'd have to purchase those, and they mount to the back, and you're working from the back. So you're really focused on what you're following on the back of the machine, and you're not really seeing how it's quilting on the front. So that's what's nice about quilting from the front and being allowed to quilt from the front, those pantographs. You can actually see what's going on, see if your thread breaks. So you don't make it all the way to the end and recognize, oh, dang it, I have to start all over. So yeah, so it's really nice to be able to have the ability to work from the front or the back. And with the rear handles, some of them will come with a screen that mounts to the back. Others don't. So you can actually purchase, if you have a set of rear handles and you want another screen, that there's an availability for you to purchase that extra screen so that you can see what's going on from the back. So, okay, I've talked about the laser and I've talked about the rear handles, which are really important, and the table inserts. Let me just show you really quickly what the Pattern Perfect looks like and how it works. So the Pattern Perfect, we have a few different styles of the Pattern Perfect. What's nice about the Pattern Perfect is, let me show you the back, okay, is it gives you what we call these little templates that have designs with little grooves, and you get a stylus that the stylus fits down into the grooves, and you just follow it along all the way across your quilt. If you are uncomfortable and not confident as a quilter and want to be able to quilt beautiful designs, this is a great way to start, because it just gives you that ability and that confidence that you need to move across your quilt and create really pretty designs. In this basic set, you get 8 designs. You get it's reversible, so you get 4 designs on the front side and 4 designs on the back. And so you can make even more designs by using like the scallops, and then you could flip them and do the dovetails. So there's a lot of options for you to create beautiful designs just using this basic set. Now we have another set that's really kind of fun. All right, and this is our new set, and it's our flowers and our stars. And on this, I just want to show you really quick. The flowers and the stars, it's reversible as well, but it has 4 different designs. So you see the flowers right here, the stars, and then you get this nice little, I don't know, design that's really fun. And it's got that little spiral in it. And then you get a little spiral design down here, which is smaller, which would work really well on a border of your quilt. And then with the Pattern Perfect, I just want to talk about our additional sets. So if you're looking online, this is called the Popcorn and Swirl. It's really popular and very easy for you to get comfortable with this design. And then all of a sudden you're using these more and more. You get that muscle memory. Then you don't need the Pattern Perfect. You have these designs down. So it's a great way to start and to learn how to quilt using the Pattern Perfect. Okay, so now let's talk about additional ways of quilting, and that is the free motion and using the laser. And how do you start? Because you're worried about the wobbles and the wiggles that you'll get, and you're not confident in moving across. So if you're concerned about how easily the carriage moves across your quilt as you're quilting, to get some resistance, I have found that if you take this take-up pole, doesn't matter what frame you have, you could even do this on your hoop frames to get a little bit more resistance. You put your take-up pole down so it's touching your arm, the arm of your machine, and that will give you that extra resistance that you need moving across your quilt as you're quilting and give you that stability. So try that. So with the dual wheels, it moves so freely and so smooth that sometimes if you are just starting out in your quilting journey, that free motion movement is so easy for you to make those little wobbles in your design. And if you don't like those little wobbles on your lines, try putting the pole down on the machine to get that extra resistance. So I have set up a little station here. Just want to talk to you about that. Can everybody see this area right here? All right, so I've got several different designs that I pulled off the internet. You don't need to purchase the designs, and you can pull them off the internet and tape them across, but you have to be very careful. I want to talk to you about designs and what, on the rolling frames, you can choose a little bit more difficult designs. On the hoop frames, because you're shifting your fabric from one section to the other, to use a design that goes in a V shape, up, down, it's a little harder to make sure that you're nice and straight. So for the hoop, for the rolling frames, this is a great design to use. But for the hoop frames, I would stick to designs that go straight across. Just so it will make it easier for you as you're shifting your quilt back and forth, up and down, to make it so that you don't get a big gap or a big space in between. So just watch those designs. That's why I picked some of these, because I thought this little hearts going across were nice and straight, and they would help, you know, move across your quilt. And even if you were off just a little bit, it is so beautifully. Also, these little loops right here, really a fun, easy, cute design, but it gives you something to follow. Now, I set this up right here because we're going to work from the front of our frame, but I haven't threaded my machine because I just want to show you how important it is to trace. By tracing or drawing, and so I have my template plastic here, and I have it on the smooth side. You have a side that's kind of, it's a little rougher, and one side that's a little smoother. So I just want to put my template plastic on across the top and take my dry erase marker, and then I'm just going to try to get this muscle memory. And I'm going to start here where it starts, and I'm just going to move up, come to a point, down, come to a point, down, a point, and just move across. So I kind of get this in my head of the direction that this design is going to be quilted. Because as you're quilting, I don't care if you're a professional and you've been doing it for years and years and years, this is important to understand, because you can be quilting along and lose your place as you're going across. So, you know, this is something that you could do over and over and over again to get the feel. And we're doing the little moon right here. And you know, it's very therapeutic. If you're frustrated or angry, do some doodling. It calms you down. And it's a lot of fun to see what you can do. Okay, so I've traced it, and I will probably go over that several times as I'm quilting. But now I have aligned one right here underneath that I pointed my laser to, the start point, and I positioned my needle on this upper one, and I pinned them into place so they're not going to go anywhere. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to practice this design without my needle threaded. So I'm going to come up here, and I positioned my laser. So the reason I moved it from this arm to this arm is because as I was positioning it, you can hit the head of your machine and you won't see your laser. So you'll just see the head of the machine. So make sure that you position your laser, and these handles are really nice because they can extend out. But it's the same thing with working from the back to the front. Just make sure that you have a clearance of this little dot as you're quilting across. So bear with me as I turn on my machine and I start moving, okay?
And I'm probably going to go a little slower because I don't know this design that much. And you can slow down your machine to as slow as you want it because we're just tracing. But you know what? Doing it this way, it also gives me the line. But you can also see, I'll take my hand away from here so that you can see how the laser is going around as well. And it's helping me get my muscle memory. And I'm going to come down here. I hope I didn't go the wrong direction. But you can see I'm off a little bit, but that's okay. I'm learning the design. I'm not actually quilting it right now. I'm just showing you a new way. And you can see I'm getting those little wobbles. So by putting my pole down on it, I won't get those little wobbles. I'll get that extra resistance that I want. It's kind of fun. You need to try this. This is a great method to learn your design. And before you know it, you'll be proficient at it. So I'm going to come up here, do my moon. I keep going. This would be a great design for a baby quilt. This moon and the stars. Oops. Oh, well. Just go with it. Don't try to correct it. Now, if you have it threaded, don't try to correct it. Just keep going with it. Because you'll see you're backtracking on it. All right. Turned out pretty good. That was a lot of fun too. So now I'm ready to thread it and move on. So let's give it a, do we have time to thread it, Nathan? Okay. All right, so, okay. And just thread it right here. Now, if you liked how you did your free motion design on that and you wanted to use a little bit of chalk pounce to pounce in the holes and to give you another little lines to use, or you can use some pins and chalks as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this paper out and I'm just going to pull my thread up. I'm going to bring this right back. Okay, where are we? All right, right here. I'm going to slow my machine down just a little bit, okay? And some people like to use manual mode as well. Manual mode is a little smoother mode. It takes you out of stitch regulation. So if you want to try manual mode, and just try it when you're tracing, see the differences. So you could trace over this again, try it in regulated precise, try it in cruise, because in cruise you get the needle going up and down and get some extra stitches around your little loops, and it might make it a little smoother than regulated precise, but try all these different modes. You know, don't be stuck with one mode. Oh, don't be stuck with one mode. Hi. Make sure that you're experimenting and trying new things. I don't want you to be stuck in that box of quilting the same design over and over again. I want you to explore and enhance your quilting and try new things. And don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to make a few mistakes along the way. That's how we grow as quilters. I mean, you know, as we are learning all of these things, we are going to make mistakes, but their mistakes help us become better as we're quilting. So I'm just going to angle my laser, going to bring my thread up. Okay, here's the test of time. So let me find my laser again. I can't find where my mark is. Where did it go? Oh, you know why? Because my cord right here is covering the little red dot. Let me move my cord back behind or up here. Okay. Now there's my red dot. I have it. Okay, I'm trying to do this one-handed so that you can see as I'm quilting. So I'm just going to do a little tie-off stitch, a needle down, needle up, needle down, needle up. Okay, and now I'm just going to jump in and try it and go for it. And you can see that I'm not exactly on the line. And you know what? I went down and didn't do my 1 star. I'm sorry. Totally forgot about that star there. And this probably isn't going to be the most beautiful, but oh well. It's mine, and I'm proud of it. You guys, this is so much fun to do. I can't tell you. Even though I know it's not perfect, I am enjoying myself so much as I'm quilting this. And I'm learning. That was a little close together, I could tell. Oh well. If I had done my 1 star, it would have been okay. Not bad. It's got some little wobbles and wiggles, but you know what? We'll call it wonky stars there. Anyway, let me just touch on one more thing, okay? I just want to talk to you about another accessory, which I think are awesome and great. And those are our 9-piece foot set and our 3-piece foot set. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about these when I do my advanced ruler, my advanced ruler work, but I just wanted to touch bases and show you all the great things. So with the couching feet, you could add an element to your beautiful quilts of yarn, and there's that minky yarn. Oh, makes cute, wonderful quilts, and couching is a lot of fun. And then you have your square feet that will help you with your rulers. And then in the 3-piece quilt foot kit, one of my favorite feet is the micro stipple, because it allows you to quilt around some intricate appliques or designs, or fill in even a design with little micro stitches. So those are just some more accessories for your free motion quilting that if you haven't tried them and explored using them, try them.
All right. Another great video by Carla. We like it. Carla, you're awesome.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I am just imagining using the couching foot and doing like cute, fluffy little like spiral popcorns and the stars and moons. I just think that would be so cute. I love it. I know what I will be doing later today.
Carla, you're gonna walk out, and Janessa is gonna be in the dark in the classroom there. Just
That's fine. Yeah, I want her to, because couching foot is a lot of fun. If you haven't tried it, it's well worth getting, because it is fun, and you can use it with the automation as well. So don't limit yourself.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to jump back to some of the questions that were asked before that second video. The first one was from Amber. What was the plastic that you used to draw on? So for those templates, I think.
It's template plastic, and there's different weights that you can purchase. And sometimes they have just both sides are smooth or whatnot, but it's just called template plastic. And you can purchase it. I don't know if Nettles carries it. Do you carry it, Chad?
Yep, we do. We have it.
So yeah, go to Nettles, pick it up, because really it makes a huge difference.
Awesome. Okay, and the next question was from Patricia. She said, how do you check tension on the back of your quilt, I'm assuming, without crawling under your machine?
Good question. Okay, so what I do with every quilt is I have a little scrap piece, okay, that I can move off and check my tension on this little scrap piece off to the side. And sometimes I will, if my quilt's pretty wide, I'll have one on one side and one on the other. And I just use my quilt clips to clamp them on. And then I can just move over, check my tension, and then I can unclamp it and look on the back of it real easy. So to have that extra piece off to the side really makes a huge difference, especially after you've changed a bobbin or you're just not quite sure. You know something's going on, and it's just nice to be able to move off your quilt and not on the edge and do some quilting to make sure everything's moving okay and your tension's correct. So make sure you have that little scrap piece handy and available to clamp on using your quilt clips. Another great little accessory that is easy to clamp on and off. And then you'll just sandwich all 3 layers and just clamp into the poles. Now, if you have a hoop frame, it's a little harder for you to do. So what I do is unclamp and look underneath because it's easier on the hoop frames to just unclamp it and lift it up and look at it. And I'll just lift my presser foot up on my machine that I'm using and kind of pull my quilt off the side. I won't undo all the clamps if I don't have to on the hoop frames, but that's what I do to check the tension. If you have a rolling frame and you've gone down your quilt and you need to check the tension and it's all on there, what I'll do is I'll move it off to the side and loosen the tension on the take-up pole and the backing, and that way I can kind of lift it up and look underneath. So there are a couple ways, and then make sure that you retension it back. Now, if you're using the automation, I have to be very careful, and you make any adjustments to your quilt after you've placed the design, then replace your pattern and make sure that you do that, because it will throw off any design that you have, and it won't quilt the way you want it to. But that's only if you have the automation. If you're free motion quilting, then go ahead and make your adjustments, because you can adjust with the free motion quilting. But if you've already placed your pattern or design and you've rolled it to make the tension tighter, or you've checked it to make sure your tension's working, you need to replace your design on the quilt before you move to the quilting phase of it. Okay.
Awesome. Deanna made a good point. Have you ever held a mirror underneath the quilt to kind of see how it looks when you're checking the tension? Is that something you've done before?
Now, I haven't done that because I just have a hard time seeing the reflections with the mirrors and make sure, because everything looks backwards, and it makes it a little more wonky for me, but maybe Chad has, and maybe because he's a quilter too. So have you done that, Chad, to look at it?
Yeah. Definitely used a mirror to check it. I've also, and I don't know, maybe you said this, and I apologize. I've also ran my fingernail underneath there just to see if it grabs on anything. And so
if you can feel the stitching, a good sign that the tension's a little off. If it's kind of flat and you don't feel it, then you're probably pretty good to go.
Yep.
Awesome. Our next couple questions is from Friday Creek Quilting. So we always use the general left to right direction when we're quilting on our Unique 21, but sometimes we need to travel shortly in a left-hand direction to fill our quilting designs. We struggle with our thread shredding. We have switched thread brands, checked tension, all the things. What tips do you have?
Well, that's a good one. I'm not sure on that one. I know that the machines really do like the left to right, and I know sometimes we have to do things that maybe they don't like. It's like driving a car. Sometimes you get a little closer to the edge than you're supposed to, but everything should be working. So just check your thread and how it's threaded, and maybe you have a little burr somewhere that is causing it to shred a little bit. So let's just make sure that there's no lint or anything caught in the springs of your machine, and make sure that there's no burrs as it's being threaded all the way down, and sometimes that can cause it. And also your needle. We found that The machines really like the correct size needle with your thread. So look at your thread guide, and if you don't have it, I know Chad has some good tips on what needle sizes to use with your thread, and that could make a huge bit of difference. So if you're using a 50 weight thread and a size 14 or 16 needle, you might need to up it to an 18, and that may really help. So yeah, check out your needle size for the thread that you're using.
And do you have a favorite thread for free motion quilting?
Well, I love our finesse thread, and I love how it quilts, and I love how it looks on the quilt. But sometimes we don't have all the colors that you're going to need for your quilt. So I also like glide thread. I've used that quite a bit, and there are several others that I've tried and used. I don't want you to limit yourself, but I do love our finesse thread. It was made specifically size and shape and weight for beginning to advanced quilters, and it sews beautifully. So if you can use that, I am a big proponent of using finesse. So
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit more about when you would choose to use the precision mode versus the cruise mode?
The regulated precise mode is what I like to use for most of my quilting. It's just a common mode. But when I am stippling and making rounded, curvy designs, I really like to use cruise, because with cruise the needle is in a constant moving up and down, and as you're going around the curve, it gives you more stitches in that curve, making it a more rounded stitch. So I really like to use cruise when I'm making pebbles, using pebbling designs, or feathering. If I'm making feathers, I like cruise using that. Regulated precise I will use when I have to come up to a point and want to make a crisp stop. That's what I like to use regulated precise mode. And I love to use regulated precise when I am using rulers, because I can have the needle stop in the down position. Well, you can in cruise as well, but it just allows you that thinking time to reposition your ruler and everything like that. So in regulated precise mode, the needle will not move unless you're moving your machine. But in cruise, the needle is going constantly up and down. So yeah, we have a little outline that we talk about the different modes and what we use it for. So if you want that, we can definitely get you that information.
Awesome. The next couple questions were all about the lasers. So I'm just gonna kind of read it off because it's a bunch of questions kind of mixed into one. So how exactly is she following the laser? Is it showing on her design paper or on the quilt itself? Is she tracing the previous punched holes? So yeah, I guess just walk us through that process a little bit more.
Okay, so the laser is a little beam of light. It's a red light that shines down, and you angle it towards your design on the paper. You saw that I had one pinned below. That's what I was tracing. And so I'll angle that little beam, that little red beam, onto the starting point of my design, and then I will just trace it. And as I'm tracing it, I'm quilting, and that's what I did. I followed along. I do have another video on the laser and what specifically, how to, use it and move it across your quilt. I did that one on the hoop frame. So if you want to look for that at our Grace Frame YouTube channel, you can watch that and see a little bit more about the laser. But the laser is really fun. And if you haven't tried it and you haven't tried to follow, but it does take practice like everything else. You're not going to be really good right out of the bat, but yeah, if you take a little time and trace and learn how to work out how the design flows, you'll get it. And a lot of quilters are very, very good at tracing, and they use that as their business to quilt quilts.
Awesome. And can these lasers be used on domestic machines as well?
Yes, we have one called the Gracie laser. Now, the one that works with the Quilting machines is called the sewing machine laser, but there's one that's called the Gracie laser, and that is made for your domestic or your home machine that you're putting on the quilting frame using to quilt with. And that's the one that you would purchase to mount to your frame.
Awesome. And then the next question is for Chad. Says, what is the stuff called that you can put on thread to keep it from shredding? I got some for my embroidery machine. So maybe trying to help with that shredding issue that the other person was talking about.
Yeah, so the product's called Solar's Aid. It's a silicone-based, it's liquid silicone, essentially what it is. And so you can put that on your thread, and that'll actually help kind of coat the machines, because sometimes there's too much friction in the machine. And so what that does is that lessens the friction. It'll also make the thread a little bit stronger and being able to go through the machine and the needle easier. And so that helps a lot with thread shredding. And we use it on embroidered thread, we use it on quilting thread, and even regular sewing thread too. So
awesome.
We use that multiple ways.
Assuming that's carried at Nettles as well.
Yep.
Awesome. Good to hear. Okay, and then the last question. So it's about our new building, the Grace Company building. You want to tell us a little bit about that, Carla?
Yes, we're so
Yeah,
excited.
Carla, go ahead, Carla. I'm interested too, actually.
We're going to have 4 classrooms, which is really exciting, to accommodate all you wonderful quilters and businesses, and you know, it's going to be a while till we're in there, but we're working on the remodeling and the structuring of it. But we have so much room to grow, and that's what we're all excited about, is that being able to really grow and have you as companies, as Nuddles and Nuddles customers come in and enjoy learning quilting with the Grace Company. So we're very excited. And we just, you know, like I said, it's a huge building with lots of places for us to have additional resources, and it's around the corner from Jane Davis's house. So, awesome. We will see you probably in about a year's time in the building. So it'll probably take us a year before we're in. We have a lot of work to do.
Yes. Super exciting.
We're excited about that because we when you purchase a Unique quilting machine from us, we actually do seminars at the Grace headquarters there in Salt Lake now. Is the new building still in Salt Lake, or is it West Jordan?
No, it's West Jordan. It's down the street. It's off about 60th South, I believe. Yeah. And I don't know what's west. I could get you there, but don't ask me an address.
No, that's fine. No, we do a 2-day seminar with them, and Carla does it, and I get to be her helper. I don't know how much help I am. I probably cause more issues.
Chad's awesome. He's so great. We love working with Nuddles.
We're excited to definitely be there with you. So that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's 2 great days of fun-filled quilting and learning. And we have one class that gets you started with quilting and getting to know your frame and machine. And the other classes are beginning automation. And so lots of great information for you to come and learn and enjoy. And you know, that's what it's all about, is enjoy the learning process. That's what's so much fun, is learning something new and applying it to your beautiful quilts.
For sure. Was there any other questions, Janessa?
I didn't see any more questions. If I missed your question, if you will type it. But while we're doing that, if there's any last minute questions, please type those in the chat box. Carla, I know you talked about a ton of different products that are used for free motion quilting. Can you tell us a little bit about more of some of your favorites or must-haves, and just walk us through those?
Well, it's like asking me to pick my favorite child. I love all aspects of quilting. So I love to use the laser. At first I didn't think I would really like the laser, but I have found that as I have improved, it is another aspect to quilting that is a lot of fun to try out and learn and apply to your quilts. I love using our ruler feet, the couching foot. When you ladies come in and try the couching foot, or a gentleman, I shouldn't you quilters come in and try the couching foot. You will really love what it can do, and it's so much fun. You don't realize it till you really try it. And everybody asks, well, why 9 feet in one set? Well, it gives you options, and we love options as quilters. I mean, why be stuck in one realm? And then the ruler kit. I love the ruler kit and why and how you have the micro stipple foot in there as well as the ruler foot. And not only that, we are constantly trying to come up with new ways to quilt and inventions. And so we've got some great, exciting things coming in the future that we will show you. Huh? So I'm very excited. So join us, and then I love our Pattern Perfect, but I've kind of worked past the Pattern Perfect. But if you want a good starting place, the Pattern Perfect is a great way to start and learn quilting. So lots of accessories, lots of things for you to learn and try.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Carla. It looks like we did have a few more questions pop up. A few of those are for Chad, so I'll go through, and then Chad, if you want to answer the questions for you at the end, does that work okay for you?
That's totally fine if I can answer them. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, perfect. So one of the questions was about the Pattern Perfect. So how do you use the Pattern Perfect? Do you lay it on the quilt and sew through it, or copy the design on a quilt? So just walk us through kind of how that works.
Is that for me?
Yes.
Okay, I do have a video on how to use the Pattern Perfect. Just like the laser, I've done one. So the Pattern Perfect you use at the back of your machine or your frame. And you have a table. You need the table inserts. So if you don't have them, you need to purchase them if you're going to use the Pattern Perfect. You lay the Pattern Perfect across your table, and then there's what they call a stylus bracket. And the bracket mounts to the side of your carriage, of your bottom carriage, okay? And there's a little stylus pin. In fact, I have this little stylus pin right here. And it mounts to the bracket, and it goes down into the grooves. And as you move from the back, so you'll need the rear handles too. So as you move across the quilt, that's how you're quilting at the back of your machine. And that's how a lot of quilters will also use their laser stylus. They will place their pattern or their design across their table on the back of the machine, use their rear handles, and quilt that direction as well. So if you want to see how both of those are used, I do have videos on YouTube that show you the Pattern Perfect and the Gracie laser. So make sure you check those out to see how they're done, how they're used.
Awesome. The next question was, and I'll maybe at the end you can talk about all the deals and things that are going on. But what does does the 2-day class apply to the hoop frame? So what classes are offered when they purchase with you guys?
So the 2-day seminar that we actually do with the Grace Company, we do a beginning. Learn how to essentially use your machine and frame that we do there. And then we also do Quilter's Creative Touch, which is the automation. So they're two separate seminars that we do, 2 days. And essentially when you purchase a machine and a frame combo with us, we give you those for free. It's an $800 value. And then when you purchase automation, we give you the other 2-day seminar that's an $800 value. So those we give to them. With hoop frames and everything, we do also offer customer course classes in the stores. We usually do that in our Riverton location because it's central for all 4 locations. And we do classes that you can come in and take from our teachers, Diane Bridge. She's been using Unique machines ever since they've been out. So she's very, very good at that. So we do have customer course classes. Hoop style frames, we sell cutie frames. There's just a lot of stuff that we sell with Grace, but hoop style frames, cutie frames, we actually have a class just for those 2 frames if you're looking to get into those, and those are customer course classes as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Here's another question from Laurel. I have an old Bernina machine and have a walking foot for it. But can I also get a free motion quilt foot for this old machine?
Yes, you can. They make free motion quilting feet for the old machines and the old but new machines, I'll call them. Yep. And so, and maybe it's, if your Bernina's that old, maybe it's time to come in and talk about upgrade. Right?
Awesome. I love it. And then, yeah, a lot of the other questions are just talking about the deal you're offering on quilting frames, lasers, discounts, things like that. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about that. And yeah, if you have any more questions, put them in the chat.
Yep. So again, for today and tomorrow, we're doing, and you can come into the stores. You can call me on my cell phone to ask these questions too. If it needs to be more specific, you can go on to our website. We actually have specific accessories up, but all machine accessories are 25% off. You don't see that very often, so pretty excited about that. And that's going to be for the rest of today and tomorrow. And then again, we're going to be doing show specials on machines and frames. Also, and it's really hard to, because there's a lot. There's 15 manual machines with 4 different frames. There's 15 regulated machines and pro machines with different frames. And then even 19-inch machines with different frames that we're doing at show specials. So again, I mean, you can get into a machine and a frame for pretty much $32.50 right now with the show special. You can contact your nearest Nuttles, or you can contact me directly. My phone number is 801-712-1959. And I get inundated with calls right after these, like always. And so please leave me a message, and I promise I'll get back to you. But you can call me directly and we can talk specifics. And then I know Brenda asked where I'm going to be the next 2 days. I don't know if I should say that. I'm just kidding. The rest of the day I'm going to be in our Murray location, and then I'll be in our Riverton location tomorrow.
Awesome. And it looks like one of our last questions. So what do you mean by hoop frames? Are those the tables that have a machine that's sew like a long arm? So tell us a little bit about kind of hoop versus rolling frame.
Carly, you want to take that?
Sure. Okay. A hoop frame is a great way to get into quilting and do what you love if you don't have a lot of room. We have a couple of different styles. We have our Q-Zone hoop frame, and it's awesome. It's, 5 foot, and it doesn't get any longer, but it is a hoop style frame. So it can accommodate up to a king size quilt. And you quilt a section and then you'll shift it, quilt another section and shift it. And you could use your home domestic machine. So you don't have to purchase a big long arm to get into quilting. Now we have our cutie frame, which is our tabletop, our very portable frame, which is the same way. You can start out with your home domestic machine, which you know and love, and you've just had years of love and success with it, with piecing quilts, and you can turn it into a quilting machine, and it will accommodate anywhere from a small domestic machine all the way up to a 19-inch machine. And it's the same way with our Q-Zone hoop frame. So you're not limited to the throat size of your machine. You can start out using your home machine and then upgrade to a longer arm machine, and you don't have to repurchase a frame to do it. And then our rolling frames what's different about them is they're a specific size. And so you have to quilt a quilt that fits within the parameters of the rolling frame. But if you have the room in your home or wherever you're going to be doing quilting, a rolling frame is a great purchase. So if you're going to make it a business or whatever, way you're going, so stop and ask Chad all those questions, say, okay, Chad, I have this budget, and I have this much room, and stop and think about, before you just jump in and purchase willy-nilly. Ask yourself these kind of questions. What kind of quilting do I want to do? Do I want to dedicate a big, large area to quilting? Yes, you do. Okay. But do I have that much space? And, do I want to push my husband out of my area and just make it mine? I don't know. You just need to stop and think about it, and then go to him with all your list of questions, and he is going to answer them and give you the best deal possible. So hopefully that explained a little bit of it. If you want more information on it, please go to our website and just check out and see the sizes and what they will do. And we have several videos on them as well. So
Awesome. Yeah, and it looks like most of our other questions are kind of specific. So I will send you over to Chad, and I think he can help you from there. I know he loves having his phone blowing up after these great classes. So
Totally love it.
other than that, I think that's it for all of our questions.
Hey, so I know everybody kind of stayed on for these. So Carla, what are we giving away today?
Oh, some cool. What do you want me to start with first? Okay.
Well, here, let's start here. We'll start with, so for 2 of the people that attended today, we're going to give 4 spools of the finesse thread away. So this thread, this is my favorite thread. We probably use most of this stuff on all the machines that we have here in the stores. We sell quite a bit of it. So we're going to give those away. And then Carla, should we just do those giveaways? Or you want to show the other 2?
Yeah, let's do those right now.
Okay. So I downloaded, so this was fair. So I always get accused of cheating in these things. So I'm going to show you. I actually have everybody's name on this app. So it's going to choose. So I can't be, somebody called me heartless in there. So they're not on this. So here we go. So for the first, and if you win, please email me at chadr@nuttallbernina.com. Then that way I'll get you what you've won. Okay. So here comes the first one. I'm going to refresh this and reset. So the first winner for the 4 threads is going to be Mary Ellen Bach.
Congratulations.
Okay, congratulations, Mary Ellen. Awesome. Okay. For the next winner of the 4 threads, we're going to do Amber Martin. So congratulations, Amber. Awesome. Thanks, Marilyn. Marilyn said I'm anything but heartless. Okay. You want to show the other things, Carla?
Sure. Okay. So first of all, let's see. There we go. This is our True Cut combo. So you get the 45mm comfort cutter, which is great comfort cutter for ergonomic issues. If you have wrist problems or shoulder problems, you get a 6.5 by 24.5 inch ruler. So the numbers are so easy to cut with, and you get a package of True Grips to keep you from sliding off and make your cuts nice and straight. So that is the next giveaway. So
all right. This is one of my favorites. I love the True Cut. Yeah. It's made all of my quilting and piecing easier because my lines are actually straight. So big fan.
It's awesome. And we actually carry the True Cut right now in our Riverton location is where we have all that merchandise. So here we go. Next up, I'm gonna mess this name up. Janice, is it Zuttel?
Well, congratulations, Janice.
Janice, congratulations. All right. Okay.
All right.
Show the next one there.
Last but not least, it's our True Sharp 2 Sharpener. Okay. So this is a great sharpener, and yes, it really does work. Okay. I have used it myself. It does. It will sharpen your blades and keep them sharp. And keep you cutting and cutting and cutting and quilting and quilting and quilting. And so this is a great prize. It comes with diamond stones in it. So it's going to just last you a long time, and you're going to love it. So let's see
And
the
Carla,
winners.
what's the value of that?
It is $79.99. So
Awesome.
it's a great
Okay.
deal.
Are we ready? Drum roll. Da-da-da-da-da-da. I don't know how to drum roll. All right. Candy Steinhorst.
Congratulations. Candy.
Congratulations, Candy.
Way to go. That was fun.
Awesome. And I didn't cheat. The app did it all for me. So
We'll attest to it.
I liked it. Okay. Well, was there anything else we needed to touch on? Any other questions?
I don't see anything. People are asking about the recording, so you can, if they can send it to friends or share it with their friends. I noticed that there was one about that, so I'll let them know.
Yep. And again, just for today and tomorrow, and I apologize that it's this quick. So definitely call me. Again, the 25% off accessories ends tomorrow. And then the pricing again for machines with frame combos. And again, if you want to upgrade, if you want to do anything like that, please give me a call. We can always figure out something and work something out for you. So give me a call and we can do that. But I appreciate Carla and Janessa for coming on and helping us. And again, definitely, if you didn't see, I'll give everybody my phone number again. Some people are like asking. So my phone number is 801-712-1959. So give me a call if you have any questions there. But everybody, thank you for coming and watching. It's really, really fun to do these. And let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks for having us. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Yep. See you later.